from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Thursday, June 8th. So today we have the moon in Aquarius all day. So of course this means that we are emotionally detached from our situation and circumstances, which allows us a little bit of a unique opportunity to have a bigger, broader perspective without being triggered and activated by our emotions. We're able to act as the observer, see things from a different set of eyes, and of course, hopefully, come up with some solutions to some of the problems that we're currently banging our head against the wall over. Now, we have 9 different aspects here today. 6 of them are going to involve the moon. The moon is going to semi-square, which does create a little bit of a tension with Neptune, who of course is in his place of power in Pisces energy. This is a disconnect because the higher realm of intelligence is where the Aquarius energy rules over. And although we are acting from our observer mentality, the Neptune energy that usually connects us with our intuition isn't popping through the way that we would like. We're actually leaning more into logical, practical intellect than we are trusting our heart space and trusting our gut, which of course can put us in a little bit of a dilly-dally situation because intellectually speaking, we have quite a different plan, quite a different path, quite a different perception of where it is that we need to move forward, compared to when we trust our gut, when we trust our intuition, of course, the dream, the vision, the goal that we're being downloaded with in order for us to kind of pursue new paths, new missions, new purpose, that is coming from our higher self, our intuition. While the moon in Aquarius energy has such a brilliant intellect that we are kind of blocking out some of the intuitive insights, visions, and dreams that have had us inspired and motivated, and instead, we're kind of stuck in the circumstances, in the realm of basically what it is that we got going on. The logical, practical circumstances that don't really suggest that we're moving forward, that don't suggest that we're able to break free and really pursue a path of happiness, passion, and desire. And so we're kind of at odds right now, and we can feel very overwhelmed about it. We are really trying to kind of blend our intellect with our intuition. It isn't working so well. And because of that, we do get overwhelmed. We do want to detach. We do want to shut down. We tend to want to live in imaginary land, but the moon in Aquarius really not allowing us to do so. We do have to kind of infuse imaginary land if we're lucky enough to actually get there with logical, practical insight on how it is that we plan on moving forward and what it is that we are strategizing to actually pursue. Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, money in Leo energy, again, listen to the Astro Forecast if you haven't already, will be making a beautiful interaction with Uranus. So Uranus actually rules over the moon in Aquarius, and we in this Aquarius energy, of course, are emotionally detached so that we can kind of see the possibilities and opportunities without being emotionally triggered and activated. Well, Uranus usually provides us with an aha moment, with a breakthrough moment. Uranus being in this Taurus energy, and of course Venus rules over the Taurus energy, has us very focused on looking at our physical realm, our physical circumstances, where routines, relationships, money matters are concerned, showing us what isn't working, showing us where it is that we're overly attached to the old, holding on for dear life, not creating the kind of space for a new opportunity to even be birthed into. And therefore, Venus interacting with Uranus in this way is really focusing in on where we're seeing our relationship dynamics from a different perspective. Keep in mind, Venus being in Leo energy, this is real and raw and vulnerable, and we're getting to the nitty-gritty of our heart space of who and what makes us happy, makes us feel a sense of joy, makes us feel safe and secure and stable in our lives. And many of us realizing, and will continue to realize while Venus transits through this Leo energy, that we're not as happy as we thought we once were with the people that we've been building with. And because of that, we're definitely seeing people from a different set of eyes. Now, this is a good interaction, so this isn't meant to be like raw and disappointing. However, that will likely come later. The Uranian energy is just opening our eyes up aligning with our heart space, getting down to the nitty gritty truth of our reality, and kind of sucking us out of that, I'm going to say, falsehood that many of us tend to create around our circumstances and especially our relationships, so that we can keep the hope that one day everything is just going to be tickety boo and everything is going to be happy and we're going to have our fairy tale ending, wherein realistically we're in the time and place right now where we got to get real with our feelings and we have to focus on what is right now instead of what we prefer it to be. The moon is going to trine the sun. This is a beautiful energy. We get some air on air action here, which means that we have a lot of mental processing to do. We have a lot of new perspectives that are emerging, a lot of new and fresh insights that we are definitely bringing into the mental plane. The moon, of course, typically speaking, attaches us to the past. So that Aquarian energy is really looking back, trying to figure out how it is that we even got here and how it is that we're going to break away from some of the things that we're no longer in alignment with. And of course, the sun, being in Gemini energy, still very much illuminating new information, new details, new options, new opportunities, paths, directions, decisions, and we are gaining momentum, leaning into one path, one decision, one direction over the other. But of course, we're still not as well informed as we need to be, still gaining a little bit of research, exploration of ideas and variables, if you will, before we're going to pull the trigger and commit and actually take action. The moon in Aquarius is going to sextile, beautiful energy, with Chiron, the wounded healer, in this Aries energy, really putting us through the ringer as far as morphing and transforming who it is that we are. Really taking a good look at our identity, the old version of self, the new version of self, the gap, the present self that we're currently in, standing in the middle. This is a sextile which screams healing, which screams growth, which screams epiphanies. We like this. The moon in Aquarius is offering us an opportunity to see ourselves, our wounds, our struggles, our challenges, our blockages from the highest viewpoint possible, from the highest point of our intellect. And when we can kind of emotionally detach from ourselves and see ourselves as an outsider, suddenly we realize things that we wouldn't have otherwise seen because we were too close to it, too immersed in it. So this is obviously putting us in a very good situation to see what needs to go and what needs to grow. And therefore, we are making a lot of growth, a lot of progress in healing some of the identity wounds that we've been struggling with, because of course we have purged and released the old version of ourselves, and we haven't quite anchored in the new version of ourselves that of course we have to be in order to reach the vibratory match of the dreams and the visions that we're actually looking to manifest. The moon is going to square Uranus. Uranus rules over the moon in Aquarius. Squaring off with the ruler is never ever fun. Brings a little bit of an intensity here. Typically speaking, Uranus energy provides us with a breakthrough, with an aha moment, with an epiphany to see where change and transformation is needed the most. But this is a square, which means that we're not seeing clearly. This is more kind of like a breakdown than a breakthrough. And lucky for us that the moon in Aquarius is providing us a little bit of an emotional detachment, because we would just go nutty over some of the negative narratives, some of the challenges and blockages that seem to be illuminating more about our path than where it is that we are rising to the challenge to overcome them. We tend to get a little bit withdrawn, a little bit cold, a little bit rigid, not only in our emotions, but in our approach to be able to basically push through the blockages and obstacles that we are facing. So does this feel good? No. Is it going to kind of bring us down a couple of pegs? 100%. Is that necessary for us to realize where it is that we are allowing our egoic programming of fears, doubts, and insecurities to totally just derail the hopes and dreams that we've been currently building in our higher selves? 100%. And this is where we're going to have some profound realizations on where it is that we are essentially being swayed away from progress, away from evolution, away from doing what it is that our heart is calling us to do, if we allow the negative programming and conditioning of our ego selves to really block our energy and efforts to move forward. The moon shortly thereafter will make a positive interaction with the true node. So that's our soul path. That's our destiny point. And guess what? We are realizing, especially out of that square, out of that tension, we are realizing where it is that we got to boss up, where we got to nip this negative narrative in the bud, where it is that we got to just stop that egoic conditioning and programming from just speaking fear and doubts and insecurities into our dreams. And instead, we got to rise above. Instead, we have to kind of take the hint on where the energy is manifesting in the negative narrative, recognize the primary root cause of where we don't feel so safe and secure and stable in our energy and efforts to overcome some of these challenges. And we also have to analyze why we continue to let this program loop. What do we benefit out of letting our ego self keep us in a state of paralysis? Well, spoiler alert, I'll tell you, we're preventing ourselves from A, evolution, B, progress and growth, and C, really kind of facing our fears in a way, because there's nothing worse than, mustering up the courage and bravery to do something different and then set out to do it and then be constantly just knocked down a couple of pegs with the obstacles and challenges that you face in order to try and make things come through. And of course, disappointment sets in. And if you will let that disappointment to set in and derail the energy and efforts to actually move forward, then guess what? Your ego wins. So we are kind of in a battle royale. Again, spiritual war, dark and light within us. And we have to kind of balance out the egoic programming with our higher selves, recognize when it's coming on strong, what it's preventing us from doing, and realize that in those moments that we have to really dig deep and we have to override that program so that we're not going to be stuck in a state of looping paralysis and never move forward out of the current circumstances that we've already deemed are not in alignment with our heart and with our soul. So here's where things get really interesting. Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, money, is going to get into the boxing ring, square off with the true node, who of course is in Taurus energy that Venus naturally rules over. So this is going to really rub us the wrong way. Why? Well, because it is showing us, especially in our relationships, where it is that we are not in agreement, heart and head, where it is that we are totally discontent, very much not satisfied with the current standing of our relationships. It is going to illuminate for us where it is that the relationships that we're in likely have played their role, have run their course, and are no longer contributing to our growth, to our evolvement. And it can be one of the worst things for us to have to do, to realize that doing the right thing is going to hurt very, very much so. Now, are we talking about complete breakups? In most cases, yes. Venus is about to retrograde in the heart and soul of the zodiac, Leo energy. So yeah, there's going to be some breakups if they're not authentically aligned with our soul contract, with our higher purpose. And if the relationship dynamics that we're in, and I'm not just talking like romantic relationships, I'm talking like with family members, I'm talking with friendships, coworkers, when the dynamic is no longer useful to push us out of our comfort zone and put us in a situation where we're evolving through the amount of growth and healing that we have to do, that these relationships are supposed to be facilitating, then the relationship is done, guys. We got to walk away. We got to cut the cord. Does it suck to have to terminate a long-lasting relationship that has fed us and support us and encouraged us and brought us to the place in which we're currently standing? 100%. Does it make sense to walk away from people that you love? Well, sometimes. I don't know that the heart will agree, but if we're being really real and raw and vulnerable with ourselves, which Venus and Leo is really pushing us to do, then sometimes we just have to admit that some relationships have run their course, and that the best thing that we can do is just be grateful for the time, for the experience, and to wholeheartedly close the door. Whether that means physically walking away, terminating the relationship, or just creating distance in the roles and responsibilities that the relationship was based on, some form or another, we are not happy with the current standing of some of our closest relationships. And we know for sure that they are really pushing us to have to detach, disconnect, and rearrange the energetic connection of these particular relationships in order for us to either grow together or grow apart. So we're definitely not going to feel so good with sitting in a situation, realizing that many of us are going to have to do the hardest thing in the world, which is to end and walk away from people that we truly love. So the moon right after is going to make a positive aspect with Jupiter. And we're going to need this because Jupiter is the hype girl. Jupiter brings the optimism, brings the confidence back, reminds us of what it is that we are growing through, what it is that we need to grow into, where it is that we need to evolve, where it is we need to push the boundaries of our comfort zone, recognizing where it is that new opportunities for growth and evolution lay just beyond our comfort zone. And so this is a beautiful energy to kind of reassure for us, especially sitting in the discontentment and realization that many of our relationship dynamics are rapidly changing and in some cases falling apart altogether. This is a huge reminder that this is for the best. This is part of the mission. This is a test, if you will, to see whether or not you are going to align and honor your heart space, your soul space, or whether or not you're going to allow the fear of losing someone, the detachment of having to make big changes, of course, ego programming, to rule the roost. The last thing that we have going on here today is the sun in Gemini energy semi-squaring with the true node. So you may have kind of pieced together already that we have a lot of true node aspects here today. That's because we're uncertain on how to actually take the steps to move forward. Just when we think that we are moving forward in the right direction, the Gemini season, the Gemini energy brings us a different perspective, different information, different details that suddenly skew the plan. And so the sun semi-squaring with the true node, of course, semi-square is not a nice vibe. It's putting us in a situation where we're not comfortable to take a step forward yet. We just got a little bit of a tidbit of information, a puzzle piece, if you will, that is revealing a different kind of path and direction that we're not so sure of yet, that we have to take a little bit more time to research and explore the details, the information to make sure everything is in alignment. And heads up, things aren't in alignment right now. That's why we're not gifted with the green light go ahead to actually move forward and take action. That's coming next week. This week, and again, go back and listen to the ascension forecast for this week if you need to. This week is about sitting in this particular pause, if you will, trying to get our heart and head in alignment so that when we're gifted with the green light go ahead, which will likely take place next week with Pluto going retrograde and Mercury moving into its place of power in Gemini energy, things are going to speed up at a very accelerated rate. Therefore, there are going to be multiple changes in our storylines, in our timelines, in our contracts. Accelerated circumstances, accelerated events are going to be taking place next week. This week was to kind of gain perspective, to gain our footing, to strategize. So if you haven't done that, I would recommend that you do that as much as humanly possible, because we're in for a wild, wild roller coaster ride coming at us here this next week.